Gary says hello in the chat room. Welcome to the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. till whenever. It is a 2 hour, at least 2 hours. Sometimes it's less than 2 hours, but oftentimes it's more than 2 hours. So 2 hours-ish. Stream of consciousness rant on all of the headlines, the trends, everything that's happening in the world today. I try and give you a nice little, like a newscast, except not lame and, fake and all that. Here's what I do. I wake up very early and I look at all of the newspapers, not newspapers because it's online, but you know what I mean. I look at all the news sites. I watch some morning shows. I figure out what the pulse of this very day is, and I compile that into a list and I present it to you every day at 12 p.m. We call it the Rant. It is a stream of consciousness, no breaks, no commercials, no music, no nothing, no potty breaks. Sometimes long pregnant pauses. Sometimes we chase rabbits. Like we'll start out talking about one thing, but because I'm streaming, something funny will pop into my head and then we'll be in a totally different place. Like we're doing right now. See, that's the fun of the show. So buckle up, hang on, and by the end of it, I promise you, you will have some functioning knowledge of what everybody's talking about in the world today. We do this show, the High Noon Rant, in 4 quarters. That's right, 4 quarters. It's 4 stages if you're keeping track at home. The first, we do a segment called Erstwhile on This Day. That is previously on this day in history. And we take a look at some of the events that have shaped our understanding of what this day has meant throughout time. That's quarter 1. Quarter 2 is birthdays. We look at people born on this day. Who are we celebrating? A lot of times they're dead, but you know what I mean? We're looking at people who were born on this day. We talk about them. Are they cool? That's really all we do. Hey, this person was born. Do we like them? Here's why we should, or here's why we shouldn't. Quarter 3 is up next, and that's the deads. The deads. I like the deads. The deads are when we look at people who died on this day. And then we open up their book of life, and we decide based on their actions and our understanding of who they were and what they did, whether they're in heaven or hell. This is where we get to play judge, jury, and I don't know, executioner. Okay, and then quarter 4. So quarter 4 is all of the hot topics, trends, headlines, and all the stuff that are shaping our understanding of what this particular installment of November the 22nd is. Okay, so first of all, my voice, terrible, not good. Hold on. I am that was weird. I was just about to talk about that, and then sort of psychosomatically, I am experiencing what can only be described as my expected Thanksgiving allergy eruption. I don't know. You know how I'm not like a big fan of Thanksgiving food? Like I think it's, overrated. If Thanksgiving food was so great, we would eat it the rest of the year, but we don't. No, we don't. We save it for the holidays. Oh yeah, because Americans are so disciplined. If we really love turkey and stuffing, there would be turkey and stuffing drive-throughs, but we don't. We don't. It's tradition, and I get it, and it's a nice one-off meal. It's fine, but let's not pretend like, oh, it's my favorite meal of the year. You're an idiot. That's your favorite meal of the year. It's fine. No, you never once in your life went out on a date with a girl to a nice restaurant and said, give me the turkey and stuffing. No, you didn't. You never did. It's not a thing. It's not that great. You know what it is? I mean, it's not to besmirch the entire world of turkey, because turkey's quite popular. Turkey's a big mover with the Subways and the Jersey Mike. Sandwiches, sure. But let's not pretend Thanksgiving food is good. Anyway, my point is this. Maybe the reason that I don't think Thanksgiving food is good is because I don't know that I've ever actually tasted it. Because every Thanksgiving of my life, like dating back to, I think I had maybe I had like scarlet fever over Thanksgiving. I don't know. I just remember being sick on a lot of Thanksgivings. And then when I wasn't sick, it was this. It was, my allergies and all that stuff. And it probably has to do with the fact that it's like 40 degrees here now, and it's been, 100 for the better part of the year. But I wonder if I've ever actually tasted Thanksgiving food, because one of the things that my allergies do is that they ruin my taste buds. They make it so it's like, you know what I mean? Because you can't smell. And anyway, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I'm thinking we're going to do a show. Here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Okay, first of all, let's give a big hearty thank you to today's executive producer, the first executive producer of the week. We haven't received one a tip all week long. Thank you so much to Tracy, and I put DA because I don't like to give full names for whatever reason, but there is another there's another Tracy with a D for a last name who also. So I want to make sure that we give everybody their props. So this is Tracy DA. Thank you so much for the tip this morning. Honestly, this is a week where you don't expect anything because it's Thanksgiving and all that good stuff, and and everybody knows I'm going to push hard. This show, by the way, runs entirely on your tips. We've been doing it for 2 years now. I can't believe we've been able to keep it afloat, but apparently enough of you like it and you keep it going. We make just enough. We squeak by every month at the end of the month with our goal of what we need to raise, which is, depending on the month, typically around $500-600. That's all. That's all this show needs to raise over the course of an entire month. It just needs to raise $600. We don't do advertising. We don't take advertisers. We would, but I mean, I don't want to get into that. Anyway, point is this. Thank you to Tracy. The big tipper of the day becomes the executive producer of the next day's show. So thank you. I will, not dependent on tips. I'm thinking I'm going to do stuff tomorrow. I'm thinking tomorrow might be a nice opportunity to do something where the audience is different. Like there's not different. By different, you mean smaller? Well, who knows? I mean, it might be smaller, but it also might be new eyes. It might be fresh eyes. It might be people are out of their habits. So we've got an incredibly cool chat room, and I love you guys, and you show up every day, and we have fun. But we need to grow this thing. In order for it to really continue on for another year, it needs to grow. So I'm thinking maybe just be on when people don't expect you to be on. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, I'm going. Besides, I'm not feeling great, and I'm not thinking great either. All right. What else do I need to mention? Oh, yeah. If you want to support the show, I'll put that up too. If you want to do that, you can go ahead. You can support the show by dropping a little something. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, folks, so much. Excuse me. I've got a couple of bits that I want to do. I think today I got to do some running around after the show. But after that, I think I got to record with Kelly. We got to do our football show today. And I got another thing. I got to record a couple of things for this much fabled dog pupcast, pup life that we do. It's not out yet. So I know I've been talking about it, but we got to build the websites. You got to create content. You can't just come out with, here's our one thing, so we're working on that. But I got a couple of things that I want to do that are Thanksgiving oriented. Like maybe I'll be available. Here's the thing. You know what I'm thinking about doing? Here's the bit. Okay. I'm thinking about just streaming live all day long. Okay. Just being here live. And you people, as you have issues with your family, like your uncle said something, you don't know how to, you come into the chat room, you just sign on and I'll be here and you tell me what's going on and then I walk you through it. I'm thinking that might be fun. I'm also thinking that nobody's going to participate in it, but cowards die cowardly deaths. And, so why not? I might try that tomorrow. I might just be an on-call therapist, streaming live, helping you. Maybe we get Kelly involved. I don't know. What's she doing? Probably cooking for 100 people. So yeah, probably won't get her involved. But I'm saying that's an idea. That's one of the things that I'm thinking of doing because, hey, I also can't be taking a day off here in tip season. You know what I mean? It's the end of the month. It's the 22nd. That can't be taking an entire day off. That day might have been worth $20. I can't do that. We'll see. It would probably, here's how it would work. I'll just put the football game up. I'll put the football game on. I'll sit in this chair. I'll have the studio up and I'll just hang out with the chat room. You can just watch me. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do a show like, hey, everybody, I don't know about that. But just as people have issues with their family or friends or someone brings a stray or whatever, you come into the chat room tomorrow and it's just like a free therapy helpline. We should try that. I'm going to do that. Mike says he'll jump on in the afternoon. Barney says, also, we don't eat turkey all the time because it takes 17 hours to cook one. No, it really doesn't, but okay. Okay. That's like saying we don't eat hamburgers all the time because it takes 3 days to smoke a cow. That's not. It would be turkey breasts. It would be turkey. It would be turkey things. You think McDonald's, if there was a McDonald's version serving turkey and stuffing, you think that they wouldn't have that streamlined? You think 17 hours of cook time? It takes 17 hours to cook a turkey because we only do it once a year. Trust me. Trust me, we'd speed that whole thing up. It'd be fantastic. There would have been, if there was a demand by the American public for turkey to the point where we're talking like McDonald's is like Turkdonald's, where they're serving turkey and stuffing out the drive-through, 50 billion sold or whatever. If that was the America that we lived in, the technology surrounding how to cook turkey, oh my God, they'd have cracked that in the 70s. That you could take like a whole giant turkey and you could cook it in 45 minutes, I bet, if there was that kind of a demand. It's what we did with hamburgers. It used to take forever. You cook a roast. Kidding me? No, we're turning them into hamburgers because people love that. Okay, that's not good. See, I'm streaming, and now Barney, now I'm thinking Barney's right because now I'm going in a different direction. Moving on. Byron says, I buy turkey by the pound at the barbecue place all the time. Isn't it crazy how the best turkey you've ever had tastes just like ham? So why not just have ham? That's what I don't get. All the really great smoked turkeys that I've had, like Texas, great smoke, whether it's Franklin's has this, unbelievable good turkey, smoked turkey. Tastes like ham. So everybody says, oh, it's so good. It tastes like ham. Okay, so then why aren't we eating ham? why are we eating turkey? I don't mind turkey. I like turkey salad. I love like I love all the things that you can do with turkey after the dinner. Like I love turkey salad. That's good. I like taking the legs and then chopping up dicing it with onions and celery and I don't know, some cabbage. Throw some cabbage in there. Make it. You don't even need to do cabbage. Don't need to. Maybe some noodles. Maybe you want to boil some macaroni noodles. Put those in there. Chill it up. Oh, that'd be good. I'm so hungry, you guys. I am so hungry. Do you know what you want to know what I did? You want to know what life is like for me? Okay, we're going to get into the show, but why not? We're having some light conversation here. So I left a package of 5 pork chops. 5 little pork. Now they weren't full chops, but they're like little pork fillets. It's a package of like 5 of them. Left them on the counter to thaw. Dog got them. They were frozen, so the dog didn't eat it, but I found them on the floor in the bedroom. One of the bedrooms over in the big house. I picked them up off the floor. I investigated them, and I cooked them and ate them. That's what I did. One of them had like dog teeth right through it, like the dog tried, but they were frozen. So the dog was like, I can't eat those. And the dog walked away. I found them. They were thawed. They'd been there like 10 hours. Yeah, pork on the floor for 10 hours. Fried it up, cooked it. Delicious. That's how I'm living. It was good. I wasn't going to just throw it. It looked fine. And also, that house is for sale over there. Those floors are immaculate. Those floors are clean as hell. Probably cleaner than my kitchen countertop. So, a little concerning that they were just left to thaw there. I don't know how long. I honestly, I'm not sure how long they were there. It might have been there a day or two. I don't know. I might have pulled them out on Saturday and she got them on Sunday and I found them on Tuesday. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not dead. So, all right, let's get started with the show. Barney says, I'm being hyperbolic, but if that's what you mean, I have 10 to 12 banquet family-sized turkey meals with stuffing or mashed potatoes a year. Yeah. Barney, maybe that's because you're sad. Maybe it's because you're sad and you're pondering for, memories of family time and good memories, and you are in your own way trying 10 to 12 times a year. You're trying to replicate some memory. Some good connection that turkey, and it's sad because you're doing Swanson TV dinners. That could be it. That's probably not it, but it could be. All right, let's get started. Let's do the show. It is the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 22nd day of November, year of our Lord 2023. Fun fact for you, November the 22nd is the 326th day of the year. There are 39 more of these until Happy New Year. That's right. Quarter 1. Let's get started. We call this erstwhile on this day previously on. It's where we take a look back at things that have occurred on this day and, try and see what patterns, stuff like that. On this day in 1942, this is a World War II story. I decided I'm done on World War II. I told you how I was watching both Band of Brothers and The Pacific, and I like watch one episode. I've been doing this for like 6 weeks, right? So I would watch like one episode of Band of Brothers, and then I'd watch an episode of The Pacific. And they're basically the same movies made by the same people, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, HBO, those miniseries, big award-winning things. They're both excellent. But one tells the story of World War II and the army and the land invasion of Europe and all that, starting with D-Day. The Pacific tells the story of the Marines and the Navy and the fight against the Japanese in the Pacific. And I like them both. But last night, I don't know. I was in the middle of one of these Pacific episodes, and I have nothing to watch. I don't know what to watch. Anyway, on this day in 1942 in World War II, Battle of Stalingrad, General Friedrich Paulus sends Adolf Hitler a telegram saying that the German Sixth Army is completely surrounded and defeat is inevitable. That was on this day in 1942. On this day in 1943, the Cairo Conference takes place. That was the meeting between Roosevelt, Churchill, and this is the one where we met Chiang Kai-shek. Who was it? Chiang Kai-shek. Yeah, dude who was in charge of China. Because normally when it concerned like the European stuff, we met with Stalin. Stalin was the third guy. It was always Churchill. Was Stalin not involved in the Pacific? Was Russia not involved? Nah, Russia had their hands full. Let's be honest. They were really slugging it out. All right, there you go. Cairo Conference on this day. It's where we sat down with the Chinese guy to go, what are we going to do about the Japanese? It was on this day in 1963 that U.S. President John F. Kennedy is assassinated and Texas Governor John Connally is seriously wounded by Lee Harvey Oswald, who also kills Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit after fleeing the scene. Right down the street, and not far from here at all. It was the grassy knoll, as I do this show here from Highland Park, Texas. I used to live in an apartment. I talked about this last night. I used to live in an apartment in downtown, a cool high-rise loft apartment. It's my favorite place that I lived here in all of my time here in Dallas. Well, I dig this. I mean, I really do like the current setup, so this might be, but this is temporary. We know that. But I used to, so the grassy knoll, the grassy knoll and Dealey Plaza and all that stuff, that has this like, global connotation. It's a place of death. It's a place of, historical significance. But when you live there, like Dallas is still a functioning city, and I don't know. It's just, I always thought it was a weird thing. Like I walk my dog on the grassy knoll. My son Mason, like, not his first steps, but when he was learning to walk, like him walking up that incline on the grassy knoll and falling down. I mean, it's like one of the coolest memories. My favorite picture, my absolute favorite picture during a Dallas snowstorm of my son and my dog at the time. They're sitting there together, and he's hugging the dog, and the dog was a husky, and there's like all big giant snow drifts that was taken at Dealey Plaza. So I don't know. I'll say this. The Sixth Floor Museum is one of the best museums I've ever been to. I mean, it's certainly not as big as like the British Museum. It's not like that. But it's as far as like being a single subject museum, it is one of the most informative and interesting museums I've ever been to. And I've been to that museum. I've been to the Sixth Floor Museum. The Sixth Floor Museum is the museum that was created out of the space where Lee Harvey Oswald supposedly shot, the Texas School Book Depository, as it was back in 1963 on this day. It's a great museum. I've been there a bunch of times because every time my friends would come into town from elsewhere, people come to Dallas, where do they want to go? They want to go to Dealey Plaza. And then since you're at Dealey Plaza, they're like, oh, what's that? And we're like, oh, it's actually a really good museum. Oh, let's go. And so I've been to that museum more than I've been to any museum on the planet. And I can tell you, it's a good museum if you haven't been. I don't know, maybe you went when you were in 6th grade or something, but go back. It's interesting. It's interesting. Do I have any thoughts on the Kennedy assassination? Not really. Nothing interesting. Nothing. There are a lot of crazy people out there with some interesting thoughts. You can find them today. That's the other thing about this day. Living down there, you come to realize that although the cameras come out for this day and the big crowds come out for this day, you'll have all the conspiracy theorists preaching on box tops, this was a mob thing or, whatever. You have that on this day and the cameras will all be there and then the cameras will go away. But having lived down there, I can tell you that it doesn't matter if it's November 22nd, the anniversary, or if it's June 5th. There are crazy people out there doing crazy people Kennedy conspiracy stuff, and it's very entertaining. It is one of the best things about Dallas. You come here and you have a collection of crazy people saying crazy people things that are fun. And at this point, it's so far removed. It's like 60 years. What is it? 61 years? 60? It's the 23. Today isn't the 60th. Wait. Oh, it was 62. Why do I always... No, it was 63. That's why it's 60. Never mind. All right. I was doing some math in my head. I got confused. Anyway, there you go. That happened on this day. On this day in 1975, Juan Carlos is declared the King of Spain following the death of Francisco Franco. That's my favorite. It's my favorite police song. King of Spain, I will always be King of Spain. On this day in 1990, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, withdraws from the Conservative Party leadership election, confirming the end of her prime ministership. There you go, the Iron Lady. She was a hard ass. She was super hard because she had to be. That was her excuse. On this day in 2022, a shooting at a Walmart in Chesapeake Bay, Virginia, leaves 7 workers dead, including the shooter and 4 others injured. This is a year ago. Do you remember this? A shooting at a Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. Man, that's frightening. It's frightening that these things, we've so many of these now in the view of history that have occurred over the past 5 years. It's like some of them are like, why did that one stand out? It's ugh. All right, there you go. That's erstwhile on this day. Those are some of the events that have shaped our understanding of this day. Now let's move into quarter 2 and they say it's their birthday. Got a bunch of them here. Got a bunch of birthdays, bunch of good birthdays, fun birthdays that I can rant on. How about this one? Born on this day in 1921. Ladies and gentlemen, the great, the memorable, everybody knows who Jack Roy is. Jack Roy, ladies and gentlemen, Jack Roy. Jack Roy was born on this day in 1921. It wasn't until the late mid-60s that Jack Roy changed his name to Rodney Dangerfield. Happy birthday, Rodney Dangerfield. Born on this day in 1923, Arthur Hiller. Now, y'all know how I'm a bit of a film snob. Like, I'm a pizza snob and I'm a film snob. Like, I like movies. But what I really like, I don't, like, the finished product is fine, right? But once I enjoy a finished product of a film, then I like to, if I see enough of the films by the same people involved, then I become like a groupie. So a lot of times when it's a filmmaker's birthday or something like that, we commemorate it with a draft. And we're going to do this for Arthur Hiller. Now, you may not know the name Arthur Hiller because he's not Scorsese. He's not Spielberg. He's not Kubrick. He's not Tarantino. But Arthur Hiller made some incredibly good movies, especially if you're Gen X or even a little bit older. He's been making movies since the early 1960s. So let's do it. An Arthur Hiller draft on this his birthday. We do this in the style of the NFL draft. We take the first pick overall. So we take a look at all of Arthur Hiller film directors' films, and we go, which one is going to go first off the board? Well, in this case, first off the board, one of the great comedies of my childhood. If you caught me at 13 years old, I might have told you this is the funniest movie of all time. As it stands, it's one of my favorite films. I haven't seen it in a while. I understand there's some troubling, by 2023 standards, there's some troubling moments in it. Doesn't really matter, though, because Arthur Hiller directed, and it's going first off the board, Silver Streak. That's right. Richard Pryor, curly-haired guy, what was his name? Gene Wilder? It is Gene Wilder, but why didn't that sound right? Oh, God, here comes the stroke. All right, so first off the board, Silver Streak. Great movie. Arthur Hiller draft. Second, The Out-of-Towners. Oh, The Out-of-Towners. Jack Lemmon, Sandy Dennis, I believe. This is like a late 60s movie. It's one of the great Jack Lemmon comedies. Jack Lemmon and Sandy Dennis. They're from out of town. They're from Ohio, and they're in New York because Jack Lemmon's got a big job interview. Oh, and he's excited about the big move to the Big Apple. And oh, they're small town Ohio folk, but this is the big move in his career, the out-of-towners. And it's about all the shit that happens to these people. Very funny film. Classic comedy from a different era of comedy, but still, the out-of-towners, very funny. How about, actually, no, was the out-of-towners later than that? I'm trying to think, was the out-of-towners from... I don't know, whatever. The out-of-towner sensibility is a very 1960s. It's got a Jack Lemmon sensibility. So you're either into that or you're not. A lot of people were. It's pretty good. Number 3, showing that he can shift gears. He gave us 2 comedies in a row, right? He gave us Silver Streak off the board at number 1. Second pick in the Arthur Hiller draft went to the out-of-towners. But look at this guy shifting gears, man. Number 3 off the board, I'm going with what is arguably the greatest and most successful love story of all time. Arthur Hiller directed Love Story. That's right. Oh my God. Have you guys ever seen Love Story? Girl made me watch it back in, like, I don't know. I was probably in my mid-20s, and I had always known about Love Story. Ryan O'Neal, Ally McGraw. They fall in love in college. A love story. Isn't this the book that was written about, who is it? Al Gore? Isn't Al Gore supposed? This book was written in college by whoever the dude that wrote the book. Whatever. I don't know. It's supposed to be about Al Gore. Anyway, Love Story. I mean, most people will tell you it's the greatest romance ever made. God, it was a big movie. Good too. It is so good. Like if you've never watched it, and if your girlfriend is forcing you to watch it, it's put up a little fight because you don't want her to think, put up a little fight about it, but then just settle in. And I'm telling you, you're like, it's a good movie. Oh, it's so sad. Number 3 off the board, the great 1970. He was nominated for the Oscar for that. He was nominated for Best Director for that. He didn't win though. That's number 3 off the board. The Arthur Hiller draft on his birthday. Arthur Hiller, number 1 was Silver Streak. Number 2 was The Out-of-Towners. Number 3, Love Story. Now, here's another one. Number 4 off the board I am picking. I just talked about this movie. A couple of weeks ago. I love this movie. Arthur Hiller directed The Lonely Guy. That's right. Steve Martin, Charles Grodin, probably Bernadette Peters, but I don't know. I don't remember. The girl was pretty forgettable. It's the story of Steve Martin, who's a lonely guy. He just can't connect with, he wants a girlfriend. He can't find romance. And he looks around and he notices that there's a whole lot of other lonely guys just like him. So he writes an article, like a freelance article about being a lonely guy, and he gets picked up, and all of a sudden it's a sensation. And then he writes a book, and now he's a best-selling author, and he realizes, anyway, I don't want to give it away, but that's the plot of The Lonely Guy. Arthur Hiller. Charles Grodin is so funny. Steve Martin's great in everything, but Charles Grodin is so funny in The Lonely Guy. Arthur Hiller, number 4 off the board. And number 5, here's another. Now there's okay. So we got Silver Streak, a great comedy. The Out-of-Towners, a classic Jack Lemmon. And then you got Love Story, which is considered to be one of the great romantic films of all time. The Lonely Guy, which is a pick from me because I love it. And I don't know what people think of it, but I love The Lonely Guy. And then there's this one. This is a big one. This is a film that is considered to be one of the great films ever made. Nobody saw it, but it's like, it's in the National Film Registry and, all of those things. It's like AFI, one of the 10 greatest films of all time. And it's because of its pedigree now. A young Arthur Hiller, the guy who went on to direct all those films we were just talking about, young Arthur Hiller was directing it, but it wasn't about the director at the time. It was about the screenwriter. The screenwriter was Paddy Chayefsky. Paddy Chayefsky was considered the greatest screenwriter. He died very young, but he's considered the greatest television writer to have ever lived to that point. Not comedy, not Neil Simon, or not like that, or Norman Lear. No, we're talking about like drama. Like he wrote, I don't know what he did. He eventually did Network, the film Network. What else did Chayefsky do? I think Marty did a film called Marty that everybody was like, Anyway, it was about Chayefsky, and it was called The Hospital. and it starred George C. Scott, and it is one of the most incredible. ER, the TV series ER, 30 years later, said that this was the hospital. We looked at the hospital and we went, that needs to be a TV series. So that's what ER is. All right, so there you have it. That's your Arthur Hiller draft on This Is Birthday. Number 1, Silver Streak. Number 2, The Out of Towners. Number 3, Love Story. Number 4, The Lonely Guy. And number 5, The Hospital. That completes it. We're not going to do any free agent invites. I mean, we could. He's got a bunch of movies, but I just want to move on. Anyway, that's just to show you. The guy you never heard of, and now you're like, holy shit, that dude's career was pretty good. Born on this day in 1950, a guy who I like unconditionally. Here's why I say this, because he is vitally tethered to 2 of my favorite things in the world. Like if you were to go, like, hey, Pugs, seriously, sit down and make a list of your 10 favorite things, right? Dogs would make the list. Tacos and pizza would make the list, right? Stuff like that. They'll be your 10 favorite things. Well, 2 of the other things that would make the list are things that this dude, this birthday boy, is directly associated with. And one of them being Bruce Springsteen. Yes, Bruce Springsteen would make my list of the 10 things Pugs likes most. Bruce Springsteen. And then another thing that would make the list would be The Sopranos. Pugs' favorite TV show of all time. So yes, happy birthday to the great guitar player from the E Street Band and Silvio from The Sopranos, Steven Van Zandt. Happy birthday. Born on this day in 1950. Born on this day in 1958, Jamie Lee Curtis. But all right. Typically, when Jamie Lee Curtis's name comes up over the years, I would be like, hey, you know about stuff when she was born? Like why her name is Jamie and that could be either a boy or a girl? Like I'd always tell that story, which is a true story, apparently. I mean, what do I know? I'm not in Hollywood, but apparently it's true. But I can't do that anymore with Jamie Lee Curtis because isn't she an Oscar winner now? And so we're celebrating. I love Jamie Lee Curtis anyway. She's great. She's awesome. She's been awesome in everything for years and years. Remember her in that? Did you guys ever see her? You guys ever see her in that aerobics movie that she did with John Travolta? What was it called? Was it called Physical? No, I don't know what it was called. Anyway, it was crazy. She was like hot aerobics chick back in 1984. Now she's like crazy kung fu granny winning Oscars. Happy birthday, Jamie Lee Curtis. Born on this day in 1966. God damn, you got to do this one. Got to do this one. All right. What a waste. The big waste of talent in life doesn't, exclusively occur within the realm of rock and roll music or hip hop. No, it happens in acting too. Happy birthday to Michael K. Williams. Michael K. Williams. God, geez, there's about a 10-year period of time in this country where there could be something on the TV and I don't even know what it is, but this dude shows up on screen and I'm like, okay, I'm watching this now. Michael K. Williams, Omar from The Wire. Omar's coming, yo. Omar's on the block. How is first of all, most people would openly debate whether or not The Wire is the greatest television show ever made. Okay, so that's what The Wire has going for it. But then those very same people, if you ask who's the best character on The Wire, they'll all go Omar. Farmer in the Dell. Michael K. Williams. Then he goes on and does like, how are you going to follow that up? See, here was the thing with Michael K. Williams, and this is why I loved him so much. Michael K. Williams went from playing Omar. When The Wire stopped, I just assumed we're never going to see that dude again because that dude's not even an actor. That character of Omar was so believable and so freaky. That dude's probably back to leading a gang somewhere in Baltimore. That guy's probably not a real actor. That's what we thought. That's what I thought. Michael K. Williams, Omar. Then he goes on and he does like 10 years on Boardwalk Empire as like the main Chalky, as like the only black guy, the leader of the black part of town. Michael K. Williams was an amazing actor and a huge, disgusting loss. I mean, not entirely. It was fentanyl, right? He was one of the fentanyl deaths. Like, so he was just doing drugs. He wasn't trying, oh, God. No, you know what? I can't excuse it. What a waste. Michael K. Williams. God, I love that guy. He was so great in everything. He had just such a cool, like, you knew he was a good guy who could be bad real easy. Like, if he needed to be bad, he was gonna be bad. But inside, he was a good guy. He was like, you could do business with him. You could do business with him. He wasn't a lunatic a-hole. Michael K. I'm talking about the characters that Michael K. Williams played. Michael K. Williams, born on this day in 1966. Born on this day in 1967. Here's a guy I don't get. I don't get him. Mark Ruffalo. I don't get him. How is he famous? How did he slip through the cracks? What? Mark Ruffalo? If that dude ain't playing the Hulk, that dude is boring me to tears. Mark Ruffalo movies suck. They all suck. Every single one of them, except if Iron Man's in a movie with him, then it's good. Everything else. Am I lying? Name me a Mark Ruffalo movie that was just awesome. That there were always these like really soft, like there's always like an issue. Like it's always like pushing some kind of an issue or something. It's it's like the new Mark Ruffalo movie. He plays a dad of a trans daughter, and it's about the deep emotional strain these things put on him. I don't want to see that. That's a Mark Ruffalo movie. Turn green, dude. That's all I'm interested in. You turning green. The other thing I love about Mark Ruffalo is that because of the way CGIs are, he is the first actor to play the Hulk to actually have his real face morphed into the Hulk. So the Hulk actually looks like Mark Ruffalo. Lou Ferrigno didn't look like Bill Bixby. Like the original Hulk, right? When Bill Bixby, the actor, would turn into the Hulk and then Lou Ferrigno would, it didn't, you looked at the face, it's like, yeah, it's a totally different dude. I love how in the Marvel films, you look at the Hulk and you just see an ugly Mark Ruffalo. I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't understand much about Mark Ruffalo except that his movies suck. I don't know if they suck. I shouldn't say that because whether a movie sucks or not is subjective. I find them boring. Oh my God. It's a nice little, it's an emotional piece about a man who supports a lesbian family. So it's like, what? He's doing this again? What's this? It's a story. It's about a man who went into the jungles of Somalia. Do they have jungles in Somalia? He went into the jungles of Somalia and he taught, he showed Nintendo to a bunch of tribal. You know what I mean? It's always like these stupid, like he chooses movies that, they're boring. Moving on. Born on this day in 1980, Sean Fanning, American computer programmer and businessman, founded Napster. Ha! This loser. This dude basically, remember Sean Fanning? Go back to 1999, 2000. Sean Fanning, creator of Napster, on the cover of Time Magazine, Rolling Stone. We were all like, this dude is going to be the richest guy in the world because he figured out how to allow people to virtually trade records. It was a brilliant idea. And then it turned out to be highly actionable by copyright holders and all of that. And his company, Napster, was sued into oblivion. His partner at the time, Sean Parker. Sean Parker was one of his early partners. Sean Parker is also the guy Justin Timberlake played in The Social Network. Remember the guy who went into Facebook? Sean Parker is worth like $30 billion. Like Sean Parker's like legit high-end billionaire. But not this loser. Not the guy who actually invented the thing. I did a little research. I found out Sean Fanning, this loser, he's only worth $70 million. That's it. The dude who actually conceived and like created and popularized Napster, which is, Apple iTunes. I don't know if you've noticed. But that's, basically that entire industry he created. And this loser walked away with a paltry $70 million. Now, I know that's absurd because 70 million, right? I mean, 70 million, he's a rich guy. But my point is this. Everybody else is a billionaire. And he's not even 100 millionaire. He's like at 70, which is fine. It's a nice parting gift, I guess, right? You with $70 million, you can like basically go and be pissy in a gigantic house with servants and stuff. So, it's not like that bad, but still it's funny to me. It's funny to me that like when he's in a room with all, like if there was a reunion, hey, let's do like a 25-year Silicon Valley reunion and everybody got in the room, he would be the broke ass. And I bet you the guy that's actually running Apple iTunes right now. Not the guy who invented it or anything, just the guy put in place to run. I bet that guy is probably worth more than Sean Fanning, the guy who created the whole idea. All right, moving on. Born on this day in 1986, another birthday, Oscar Pistorius. He was the one-legged runner. It's unfair. You can be consistent. I saw another story about some trans swimmer in New Jersey set the New Jersey girls' high school state record for swimming. Of course she did. Oscar Pistorius is the same thing. It's just not fair. Oscar Pistorius is, remember, it was like Oscar Pistorius with his one leg should race against people with two legs. No, because he has the people with two human legs are at a disadvantage when that dude has one human leg and then like a bionic leg. Do you ever see how fast he can get going on those little, aren't they weird too? They look like weird long toenails. They curl up, those little things that he runs with. I don't know, whatever. He then killed his model girlfriend, right? Didn't he kill her? What's going on with Oscar Pistorius? He in jail? South African sprinter and convicted murderer. I didn't follow that story that close. It was all just very, I don't know why I didn't follow that story. Well, probably because it's South Africa. He's a South African celebrity, which means nothing to me. Was he on drugs or something? Or I'm like, because it wasn't he shot through a door and she was on the other side of the door. So it wasn't like he murdered her, like, I'm going to murder you. Or was it? I don't know. Moving on. I don't care enough about it. I care, but she was Rima Steenburgen, right? Wasn't that her name? She had a cool name. Riva Steen, something like that. Tragedy. Born on this day in 1996. Hailey Bieber. Hailey Bieber of the Baldwin Biebers. Hailey Bieber of the Stephen Baldwin Biebers, Justin Bieber's. I don't know what to make of her. She's married to Justin Bieber. She's Stephen Baldwin's daughter. All right, that's going to do it. Those are the birthdays. Now let's move on to the deads. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. We are going to open up their life's resume and decide, based on our understanding of what it takes to get into heaven or hell, where'd they go? It's a question we're going to ask. Here we are. First off, let's see, walking the plank. Blackbeard, the pirate. See what I did? Walking the plank. Blackbeard, the pirate, died on this day in 1718. He's what the hell? There's a pirate. He's an asshole. He's an asshole by, declaration. He's okay. Blackbeard. He was a buccaneer. He was one of those Caribbean pirates. He was over in that. Blackbeard. A lot of things. If you ever go to Florida, a lot of Blackbeard stuff. You ever go to like the islands around, a lot of Blackbeard stuff. Blackbeard's Bar and Grill. You want a Blackbeard steak sandwich? That kind of thing. He's everywhere. On this day in 1955, Shemp Howard died. Shemp of the Three Stooges. Fun fact about Shemp is an original Three Stooge. People think, oh, he's the guy that replaced Curly. Yeah, but also Curly's the guy that replaced Shemp. The original he's a brother. He's Mo Howard. Well, Mo Howard and Shemp Howard are brothers. And they started an act with their buddy Larry Fine. And they started doing the act, and the act started to get popular. And Shemp Howard was sort of the standout from the act. So he went solo, right? You know how that happens with bands? Like, you get a band and you guys, the record company guys start coming around, and the record company guys like, you know what? We don't want the whole band. We just want you. Well, that's what happened. They didn't want the Three Stooges. They just wanted Shemp. So Shemp went off to Hollywood to go be a star, and the Three Stooges and their vaudeville act were like, we need a new guy. Hey, Curly. And then Curly became a member. And then Curly became really popular, and then he got sick. I think Curly got sick. And then Shemp came back because his career, McLean Stevenson, Shemp's going to go to heaven, right? We're going to put Shemp in heaven. Why not? He's a Three Stooge. He probably did a lot of bad stuff, but, Born on this day, or dead on this day in 1980, Mae West, American actor, American stage actor. Mae West is very culturally important. Mae West normalized slutty behavior. There's no more genteel way to put it than that. She normalized the character of the slut. You have to understand that American culture, and certainly the way it was depicted in mass media of the times, was very vanilla. And very sort of idealized. Like there was no reality. The reality of life was not depicted. People wanted escapism. People wanted, idealized versions of what their lives were supposed to be. So that's how Hollywood kind of acted. Mae West came along, and women. This was a time when, in America, women, if they were thought to be easy or what, there's a terrible thing. Women's sexuality, their sexual liberation, their ideas about their own sexual nature and all that kind of stuff were stifled to an incredible, like a diamond, like just pressurized. And it was Mae West. Mae West was the first one who came out and went, "I'm a whore and I'm public about it and I'm going to celebrate it." And that was her whole thing. So culturally speaking, that's a pretty important part of, women being normalized as three-dimensional creatures and not this, because women had been depicted on film until that point through the lens of what, dudes born in 1885 thought women were. Yeah, and that's, they're always the damsel in distress, and they were tied up on a railroad track. That's the way women were depicted. And then Mae West came along, and she was like, "I'm in control of my sexuality, and you want to have sex with me. I know that you do, and I'm going to tell you no, and that's how I'm going to show control over you." That was her whole vibe. She normalized it. So let's go ahead and put her in heaven. Yeah. Dead on this day in 1986, Scatman Crothers. I'm putting him in heaven. Scatman Crothers goes to heaven. Scatman Crothers. First of all, he did every cartoon voice that Casey Kasem wasn't doing. Every black cartoon voice. If they had a cartoon and it needed to be a black guy, Scatman Crothers. Scatman Crothers, also film actor, great film actor for generations. Years and years this guy was doing films. Most famous among us and those of us who live now, he was the caretaker in The Shining. The cook who told little Tommy, was his name? I don't know, whatever. Tommy, who told Tommy about the shine. The black guy who knew that the boy had the shine. That's Scatman Crothers. Remember in his room there at the Overlook Hotel or whatever, he had the big giant posters on the wall of like large-breasted naked black women. And as like an 11-year-old, I had only seen, the only naked black women I'd seen were in National Geographic. So that was like pretty eye-opening to me. That was pretty great. I'm thinking, wow, okay. Scatman Crothers, he's going to heaven. Scatman Crothers, I like them. He was Curly Neal in the Harlem Globetrotters cartoons. That's my favorite. I used to love the Harlem Globetrotter cartoons, and he was Curly Neal. Scatman Crothers, dead on this day in 1986. Let me see here. Dead on this day in 1997. Woo, boy. I remember exactly where I was. This might be one that I will pull up a map, pull up a Google map, and I will show you exactly where I was when I heard this deal. Dead in 1997. I was with my mom. I was with my wife at the time. I was with, no, my grandma was not with me. And we were in Mokina, Illinois. We were looking at homes for my grandmother, and it was a couple of days before Thanksgiving. We were just driving around. I remember we went to a candle shop, like Mokina, Illinois is like out in the middle of it's rural. It's like small town. Let's go antiquing. It's like that kind of thing. So there was like this candle shop of like, it was a pretty big shop, and it looked like they had all homemade candles. So I don't know. I was with women. They wanted to go in. I went in. But I remember they were in the candle shop, and I went back to the car, and I was just sitting in the car, and I was listening to the radio, and that's when they broke in with this. And this was shocking. This was a big one for me because this was one of my favorite bands. And we had just seen them a couple of months earlier, September. In September no, it was August. It was August because the 16th. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. I'm working dates out in my head. Yeah, I was sitting in a car. It was raining. It was November. It was cold. My mother and my wife at the time were in the candle shop, and I'm listening to the radio. And that's when they came on and said that Michael Hutchence of INXS was dead. Oh my God. Oh my God. I got out of the car and I ran in. I grabbed my wife at the time, and I said, "Something terrible has happened." No, I didn't react like that, but it was interesting because INXS was launching a new tour. They had just put out a brand new album. And I was at Q101, which was the alternative rock station in Chicago at the time. And we had really embraced the new album, so much so to the point that INXS had just 2 months earlier done a big free concert for us on the street behind our radio station. We invited all our listeners. I mean, 10,000 people showed up. It was a big deal. And so we were actually with the band and hanging out with the band, got to meet the band, got to see what Michael Hutchence was like just hanging out. And then 2 months later, he's dead in a hotel room in Sydney. Oh, it was a big one. I love INXS. He's in hell, by the way. We should just go ahead and put him in hell, because Michael Hutchence was a party boy. I saw INXS probably 5 times. And I would say that the worst concert that I ever saw in my life was an INXS show at the UIC Pavilion in 1988. The band was drunk. They played for 30 minutes. They couldn't remember anything. Michael Hutchence kept falling off the stool, and then they just ended the show. They didn't play anything. Worst concert I'd ever been to. I was so angry at INXS. 6 months later, I saw them again, and it was one of the best concerts I'd ever seen. So that free concert that they did back in 97, just before Michael's death, that was a really great show, because they had sort of a chip on their shoulder there. They were trying to like come back and not come back, but they had been off for a while. They had been out playing Rockstar. So anyway, yeah, he died. Autoerotic asphyxiation was one of the charges, although that's never, to my knowledge, been absolutely proven. Who knows? What we do know is that he was going through some really bad stuff. His wife at the time, Paula Yates, who was the ex-wife of Bob Geldof of We Are the World, that guy, Bob Geldof, Band-Aid. No, Bob Geldof was Band-Aid. We're going to start hearing that again. World, let them know it. So that's Bob Geldof, Boomtown Rats too. I don't like Monday. Right, that guy. So that's that guy. Bob Geldof is the ex-husband of Michael Hutchence's wife. Michael Hutchence's wife and Bob Geldof had kids together, 2 kids together. Michael Hutchence and Bob Geldof's ex-wife had 1 kid together, a little girl who was Tiger Lily, who was like 3 years old at the moment. The holidays were coming, Christmas and all that stuff. And Michael Hutchence was in Australia, and his kid that he shares with Paula Yates, was in London with her half-sisters at Bob Geldof's. The kids were supposed to show up. Michael Hutchence was supposed to get his daughter and Paula Yates the next day. They were going to show up together, and they were going to spend the holidays in Australia together. Just a nice little threesome family. Well, that changed. There was an incident that occurred. Something happened, and blah, blah, blah. It couldn't happen. Paula Yates called Michael Hutchence the night that he killed himself and said, look, we can't come, and Tiger Lily can't come. Apparently, Michael Hutchence went into a tailspin. He started calling people and telling people all about, this will not stand. He then called Bob Geldof and started screaming at Bob Geldof, to the point that the man in the room next to Michael Hutchence at the Four Seasons Sydney called security and said that the guy in the room next to me is screaming like a maniac. This was confirmed during a police investigation when they went to Bob Geldof and said, did you get a call from Michael? And he was like, yeah. And he was raging. And he was found like a couple hours later dead. The story about autoerotic asphyxiation, that comes from Paula Yates herself. And it was said in the moment, in the very early part of it. Paula Yates is dead. Paula Yates died like a year later. She was a heroin junkie. But she was supposedly really upset, pissed off at Michael Hutchence for killing himself. And, this is the perspective now, years later. People are like, yeah, she said that. And the press picked it up. She was trying to embarrass Michael. So we don't know. Anyway, what we do know is that there was an issue with the kid, and that he suffered from depression, and that he was a raging alcoholic. I saw him fall off bar stools 15 years earlier on stage. But yeah, he's going to hell. Michael Hutchence, there you go. INXS, they were a great band, man. They were a great band, especially in like mid 80s, early 80s. And I'm talking like before Listen Like Thieves, before Kick. Shabu Shaba. Check that out. There you go. You want to, you don't understand INXS. You're like, yeah, I've heard of them. Just don't start with Kick. Don't start with Listen Like Thieves. Those are going to be chalked with hits, and you'll get to those. But I would start with Shabu Shaba. There you go. All right, let's move on. There you have it. That is that's the first 3 quarters, right? Those are the deads. We did erstwhile on this day. We did birthdays and we did the deads. I'll remind you, and by the way, thank you to our executive producer of today's show, Tracy Duh. Tracy Duh dropped a little something there. That's how this show runs. You put it in the Venmo, you drop some, you support this kind of talk radio, which is non-politically divisive and just talks about everything else that's happening in the world, which is what we are about to do. So thank you to today's executive producer, Tracy Da. I will leave that up. There you go. You can stare at that all day. Maybe feel guilty. Drop a little something if you can. All right, let's move in now to quarter 4. These are all the topics and the subjects that people are discussing today. This is it. Quarter 4. Israel. Let's start out with Israel. Israel, there is a ceasefire. Let me click on this. There is a ceasefire. They still ain't got no hostages yet. Hamas is running around looking for the hostages. Qatar announces Israel-Hamas truce for hostages deal that would pause Gaza fighting and bring in aid. So it's going to be for 5 days, they're saying. I don't know if it started yet. I mean, what? It was supposed to, they announced it on Friday. They were like, yeah, we got a deal. And then on Friday, then on Saturday, then there was no confirmation. And then on Monday, it's like, well, on Monday, Hamas was going, hold on. We're not exactly sure where all the hostages are. We got to find them. We weren't expecting to just give them up like this. So that was on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Israel was like, we're not going to stop bombing until we, see our first hostage. So anyway, there was all that going on. And this morning, I guess they made it official. Qatar, those good guys, they brokered it. Qatar on Wednesday announced a truce for hostages deal. By the way, this is all so good for Qatar. Qatar is a nation of pirates. That's what Qatar is. They are bad people who are trying to get some sort of recognition or some form of respect on the world stage. Remember they did it with the World Cup? They overpaid and people were like, this is all a part of that. Now Qatar can add to their little resume, hosted the World Cup and brokered peace between Hamas and Israel. Those are all things that get, diplomats from Germany, France, America, China to talk to you. And that's all they want. They want people from those places to recognize them. I don't know if it's a good thing because, like I said, Qatar, until proven otherwise, is a freaking pirate nation. Qatar's foreign ministry said it would announce within a day when the clock will start ticking on the truce, during which 50 hostages will be released in stages in exchange for what Hamas said would be 150 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. See, that had to have been the holdup because I thought the deal, as the deal was announced last Friday, it was, all right, Israel will stop raining hellfire on you for 5 days if you give us some of the hostages. I thought that was the deal. Now it's not. Now Israel's got to give up Palestinian prisoners too. Okay, well, hey, if they're willing to do it, whatever, I appreciate it. I'm not there. I'm not in the room. All right, so we'll see how that's going. There you go. As I say with this whole Israel thing, we're going to start off every show with a quick little thing about Israel. But if you really need to know in-depth, breaking, moment-to-moment coverage, there are plenty of places that do it better than here. So go on, get over there. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. Holiday travel is a big deal. Holiday travel is expected to be as busy as it's ever been. Don't know why. They're just saying it. Seems like they say that every year. Seems like every year they go, this is going to be the busiest. Is that because more people are dying or more people are being born every year than are dying? So every year, just incrementally, there's just going to be a few more people in the family that travels. So now there's more people traveling. Record Thanksgiving travel rush off to a smooth start despite snowy forecast. Yeah, that's screwing everything up because there's going to be snow on the East Coast. The late crush of holiday travelers is picking up steam, with about 2.7 million people expected to board flights on Wednesday and millions more planning to drive or take the train to Thanksgiving celebrations. Airline officials say they are confident they can avoid the kind of massive disruptions that have marred past holiday seasons, such as the meltdown at Southwest Airlines over last Christmas. All right, whatever. Do we need to deeply go into that? Are you traveling? If you're traveling, you know what to expect. I love the people who travel last minute at the holidays and then, they get interviewed by some local news reporter and they're outraged. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? This is what happens. You think you're the only one who moved away from your mom? You think you're the only one that doesn't need to get home, and you think you're the only one that doesn't want to show up 4 days early? You want to spend as little time at your mom's house as possible. You want to do your duties as a good and participating member of the family, but you don't want to show up on Monday. Like your kiss-ass sister who came home on Monday just to and you're going to show up on Wednesday night. You're going to have dinner on Thursday, and then, you're catching a flight out Friday. And you're going to complain. That's your plan because you're broken and can't really enjoy time with your family. You're broken, so your plan is to do it all last minute in a very tight window of meeting your expectations, and now you're going to go on local TV and bitch about the airlines? Come on. Take some personal responsibility, weirdo. How about airports? We got a new list here. This is a list of the best and worst airports for travel times because they released this. Well, too late. You should have released this 2 months ago when people were booking tickets and deciding whether they were going to travel. You released this the day before Thanksgiving. This is just so that you look at it and you go, yep, our airport's on here. We chose a shitty airport. All right, so this is a list of... Is it best or least? Hold on. We'll see. It's taking some time to download. You know how these things go. So this is a list of the airports that have the most delayed flights, accompanied next to a list of the airports who have the most canceled flights. Now, I don't know what's better. Because if you cancel a flight early enough and give me the heads up, fine. Then you stay at home, all that. But if you delayed flights, oh God, a 10-hour delay I would rather just cancel the flight. Just cancel the flight. And again, if it's bad weather, cancel the flight. Okay, so if you're what are you telling people to go to the airport? 2 hours before? So then you better cancel that flight 2.5 hours before. You don't need people going to the airport and finding out the flight's been canceled there. Most of us have cell phones, smartphones. We got the app. And when you fly, you're constantly looking at the status of your flight. So people are going to know. When it comes to air travel, 56% of travelers plan to check a bag. That's the other thing. I don't know if this is a pro tip or a cheap ass tip, but I will never check a bag again. I don't care where I'm going. I am going to figure out what the absolute maximum carry-on is, and I am going to be able to fit everything I need in there. I am never First of all, it was a big problem with stuff getting lost. I lost a bag once, and it sucked. Took 3 days for the damn bag to get back. The bag showed up a day before we were leaving. I'm like, oh, great. Can I wear everything tonight? Sucked. And then there's just the ridiculous so I'm just going to carry on. Checking bags. All right, here you go. Airports with the most delays. Now, these are delays, okay? Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood International Airport down there. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's what a lot of people traveling in and out of Florida. That's a popular airport for tourists and vacationers, and it's basically Thanksgiving weekend year-round there. I can see how that's going to be. Number 2. Airport with the most delays, McCarran in Vegas. Yeah, again, it's Thanksgiving weekend, every weekend in Las Vegas. You're constantly having people coming and going and coming and going, so that makes sense. That airport would be a big one. Orlando International is number 3, airports with the most delays. Totally see that too. Again, Disney. Denver Stapleton is 29% of flights are delayed. Okay, so that's a tie for number 3 with Orlando. Then it goes on BWI in Washington, Midway in Chicago, Miami International. I'm trying to see if there's any Dallas ones. Yeah, number 10 on the list of most delayed airports is Dallas Love Field. My 2 favorite airports in America are Dallas Love Field and Chicago Midway. Chicago Midway is 5. Dallas Love Field is 10. I don't know. I like them both. They both have great food. They both have, first of all, Dallas Love Field, when you get off the plane in Dallas, boom, Whataburger right there. You need to just say, well, of that. I also I think is it the Chili's too? I don't know what it is. Whatever, this place I go, it's got good buffalo wings, and I get my shots before I go on. Anyway, great food at Love Field. And then Chicago Midway, unbelievable food. I mean, especially if you're from there. I know, and I know what you're saying. Yeah, but it's airport food. No. Chicago Midway Airport is like trying to do this thing where when people get off the plane, they want to immediately go Taste of Chicago. And so they're actually good versions. Like the gyro place, the place where you get a gyro sandwich right there in the food court at Midway is unbelievable. The hot dog, the Chicago style hot dog, I don't know who runs that. It's probably like a Wiener Circle, or probably Portillo's at this point. I remember being disappointed in the hot dogs. But anyway, the food is amazing at both Love Field and Midway. And that's from a fat guy. That's why those are my favorite airports. All right, here are the airports with the most canceled flights. Again, the airport with the most delayed flights is Florida Fort Lauderdale. The most canceled flights. Okay, this ain't good. But this has got to be because canceled flight is our very own Dallas Love Field. Oh my God, if I step and peer through the trees, I can see the far south runway. Dallas Love Field. Number one airport with the most canceled flights. Number two is Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International. That airport just sucks. It's number one in most delayed and number two in most canceled. Then you got Newark, which is I'm trying to think if I've flown in Newark. I don't think so. I know I've been to Kennedy and I've been to LaGuardia. I don't know if I've been to Newark. I don't know. I have a friend who says Newark is the only way to go into New York. You got to fly into Newark. It's the only way. It says here, number 3 most canceled airport in America. LaGuardia comes in at number 4. DFW comes in at number 5. DFW. So, that ain't good for us. Okay. That ain't good for us here in Texas, in Dallas specifically. Of the top 5 airports with the most canceled flights, we occupy number 1 and number 5. In between, a shithole in Florida that's number 1 in most delays, and 2 New Yorks. Well, of course, New York airports are going to be screwed up. It's New York. It's like 100 million people there. Busiest airports. The new busiest airport list is out. Number 1, Atlanta Hartsfield. Number 2, DFW. Number 3, Denver Stapleton. Number 4, Chicago O'Hare. Number 5, LAX. And you can take those 5 airports, you can throw them in a jar, mix them up, and next year, that's what the list will be. Those 5 airports are always, the busiest airports are always Atlanta, Denver, O'Hare, DFW, or LAX. Always, every year. They go up and down. All right, there you go. Holiday travel. I ain't traveling. I ain't going nowhere. Remember, folks, I'm thinking about doing this tomorrow. Spread the word. I'm thinking about starting at noon and just doing a stream. Maybe I'll start it when the football games begin. Just doing a stream. I'll make my Hot Pockets. I'll eat my ambrosia salad. And I'll do all of that on a live stream while watching football, waiting for you to pop into the chat room with some issue that has arisen at your family dinner. Grandpa said something. I don't know, he brought that girl again, and you're looking for advice on how to handle these family interruptions. You come join me. You come join me. You pop into the chat room. I'll be watching football. I'll see you. You'll tell me the situation. We'll talk it through. We'll get you out there. Thinking about doing that tomorrow. I'm thinking about doing that. Like maybe I could, if I'm not going to be participating in this Judeo-Christian construct of national holidays, if I'm not going to be participating in that, I may as well do something else. So let's do it. Byron says family eats at 2 if I make it that long. What's eating at 2? I never understood this. You want my family? My family was awesome. My family, you know when we ate, you know what time we ate Thanksgiving dinner? Like 6 o'clock. Like at a normal time when you're supposed to eat dinner. That's when we ate dinner at like 6 o'clock. I always appreciated that. Then you go over to a friend's house for Thanksgiving and it's like 11:45 and they're like, we're carving the turkey. I'm like, 11:45? Stupid. It's the only day of the year where we eat like a lunch that's like a massive dinner. And then we're hungry. And then it's leftovers, you know? And then you order a pizza at 10 o'clock because nobody wants turkey anymore by that point. There are any pizza 10 o'clock every Thanksgiving night. There are any pizza places open tonight? We should get a pizza. That's every house I've ever been in at 10 o'clock on Thanksgiving night. All right, moving on. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House. All right, I guess we got some audio here. What is this? Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House. He said something. What did he say? Oh, that's what this is. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I've got this now. We don't need to listen to it. I'll just read you the quote. I told you though, when Mike Johnson became Speaker of the House, I said, "Oh, you just wait. Oh, they're gonna go digging on him. Oh, we know nothing about this guy right now. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out every bit of grab ass this guy's participated in his entire life." Well, it turns out that this square, not a whole lot of grab ass. I'm guessing he seems kind of like the spooky. He seems kind of like a Children of the Corn kind of dude, but whatever. He looks good in a suit, and he's you'll vote for him, and then he opens his mouth, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, wait, hey." Here's what he said, and he's taking some heat for this. Let's see. CNN has unearthed audio of new House Speaker calling humans inherently evil and abortion a Holocaust. Okay, well, first of all, calling abortion a Holocaust, that's what those people on that side of the argument have been saying for it. That's not shocking. That's, yeah, it's what they think. They believe, well, you can't make that comparison. Sure you can. Why can't you? What, you're telling him that to him that's not as big as the Holocaust? That's unfair. He may look at this legalized abortion and the ending of all of these pregnancies, he may look at these as deaths. So don't, that's a Holocaust to him. Well, he diminishes what happened. No, you diminish what his argument is when you say that he diminishes the Holocaust. When you say that these two things are not equal, you're not giving him the benefit of his heart. If he truly feels that way, he truly feels that way. So I don't have a problem with that. Speaker Mike Johnson called human beings inherently evil and referred to abortion as an American Holocaust. He says here's the quote, "It is truly an American Holocaust," Johnson said of abortion in a radio interview. I mean, the reality is that Planned Parenthood and all of these big abortion, they set up their clinics in inner cities. They are, they regard these people as easy prey. I mean, it's true. This is what's happening across the country now. All right, so that's not a shocking take on the Planned Parenthood situation from a pro-life Christian evangelical lawmaker. So why are we acting like that's shocking? I mean, I don't particularly agree with it, but we shouldn't. I mean, we didn't know this. You didn't know that this guy from Louisiana who was homeschooled and, is heavily Christian, you didn't think that he would have that opinion? Okay. And then says, what's the other thing that he says? This is what I really want to get into. So this is about what he thinks the proper role of government is. He says, one of the primary purposes of the law in civil government is to restrain evil. Well, I don't know if I subscribe to the same construct of good and evil that he does, him being a fundamentalist Christian. But okay, we can agree that the primary purpose of the law in civil government is to keep order, to make sure that bad things don't happen. Okay, we'll agree on that. He calls it evil, and I'll go along with it. He then goes on to say, Speaker Mike Johnson, we have to acknowledge collectively that man is inherently evil and needs to be restrained. That's the problem with the radical left. They don't acknowledge a God. Okay, I don't see that connection, so we're just going to ignore where he says that's the problem with the radical left. They don't acknowledge, because that now he's going into party politics, and he's just. But what he said here that he's being criticized for, we have to acknowledge collectively that man is inherently evil and needs to be restrained. Well, I want to get the whole quote. We have to acknowledge collectively that man is inherently evil and needs to be restrained. I 100% agree with him. I have been saying this forever. Humanity is evil. Humanity, when left to its own devices, is selfish. It is narcissistic. It is every man for himself. Men, we have the Bible and religion and the overarching constant threat that we raise up our children with is, if you do bad, you go to hell. If you are good, you go to heaven with all the fun people, right? That's why do we need that? We need that to keep people in line, because if left to our own devices without any kind of law, without any kind of structure, we would kill people like that. Do you know how many of us would be murderers if there was absolutely no? And that's, I think, what he's talking about. And I think this is an argument for law, for faith, for understanding, for thinking deeper, for being a better person. Feral children are, I don't know what number. Pugs, tell us about your experience with feral children. I'm like wolf kids, right? I've never met a wolf kid. I don't even know if they're real. I've seen Nell. She wasn't very nice because she was left to her own, I think that's what he's saying. Now he's saying this trying to advocate for a bigger role of religion in people's life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, Mike, I agree with you that people are inherently evil. And what I've learned in life is that it's incredibly difficult being good. You have to really sacrifice. You have to really take it on the chin. You have to get your ego in check. You have to understand that it's not always about you. There are a lot of losses that come with being good, and that's difficult for people. But yes, I agree with him that man is inherently evil. I believe that a child born and just basically not given love, not given any rules, fed, kept warm, survived, kept till survival rate, that 18-year-old human is going to be an awful, awful person. They're going to behave in a way that would make someone like Mike Johnson go, that's evil. I mean, I see it and I go, that's just a bad person. But he's being slayed for this because, people are looking at this statement. I am obviously looking at this statement and being a bit more abstract about its meaning. Whereas I guess people are seeing this and going, see, he hates humans. He doesn't have any regard for human life. And he thinks we need to be restrained. He is bringing martial law. Like, that's how people are taking this. And I'm like, I don't think that's what he's saying. I think what he's saying is that, like I always say, being a good person takes work. You have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that, I'm a good person. People are saying, you ever heard somebody like is an asshole go, I don't know what his problem is with me. I'm a good person. No, you're not. You're a dick. You're a dick and you take no responsibility for your dickiness. It's hard being a decent person. It's hard not being, again, selfish. It's hard not being... It's hard showing other people that you can be vulnerable and that you can be well-rounded. It's hard being loving towards other people, towards strangers. Why? Because again, now that's a vulnerability thing. If I show a kindness and a love to this stranger, I can't bank on what's coming back at me. And what if I show him love and I don't get it back? Then I look weak. So that's why people are like, that's why every guy you meet, every 19-year-old guy that meets another guy for the first time, hey, Brad, what's up? This is Brad. This is Joe. What's up, man? Not one guy's like, hey, brother, how you doing, man? Some are. Of course, we know some are. But most of them, we know these guys, right? So it's because, you're even in this moment, you're being hard. You're such an emotional mess. Because being good is hard. We need laws. We need faith. That's where faith and religion came from. Again, if you're bad, you're going to hell. I know you want to be bad because you're instinctively bad and you're going to do that. You are horny and you want to just take what you want from that girl and you're going to hit her over the head with a rock and you're going to please yourself. But if you do that, you're going to hell. People would do that if there wasn't some price to be paid, if there wasn't some grand understanding among everybody. And that's what rules and that's what laws and that's what faith is. It's the Bible. The Bible is just a rule book. So you don't just run around killing people and being a complete a-hole. It's hard being good. Anyway, they're coming after Mike Johnson. You want to come after him. There's plenty of things you can come after him for, but not this. This is, I happen to agree with him. I believe that people are inherently evil. Oh, and by the way, he's saying and they need to be restrained. I don't think he's actually talking about, let's just round people up and put them. I think what he means is people are inherently evil and it needs to be restrained. That's what he said. People are inherently evil and it needs to be restrained. That's the fight. That's the fight to be good. That's the restraining of it. He's not talking about calling out the National Guard. He's talking in a very abstract way. I mean, I think he is anyway, but that's okay. He's a political figure and anything that he says, anything nuanced, anything with a little bit of, Now, again, and I don't believe, I do not think, this guy is onto something here other than the fact that he's right. People are inherently evil. Okay, moving on. But that's not a reason to hate people, because a whole bunch of us are out here struggling every day to resist those urges. You ever just see somebody that you hate on the street and you want to go, oh, I'm going to run that person over right now. I'm just going to end that person's life. Of course you do. Of course you do, because people have rage. Driving is one of the places where we bubble our rage up, and you think about doing it because that's your instinct. And then what do? You don't do it. Why? Because you consider, and those considerations are what keep you from just being a bloodthirsty monster. It's what keeps all of us from it. All right, moving on. TCU. Let's talk about TCU right here. Our friends. I'm up now. You know me. The great rivalry between SMU, Southern Methodist University, and TCU, Texas Christian. I'm right here giving you this stream from the campus of beautiful Southern Methodist University. So to the Horned Frogs over there. But did you see this story? TCU last year raised $1 billion for its endowments. It raised $1 billion and through fundraising and all that stuff, $1 billion. And TCU, don't know if you've ever been there. TCU doesn't need to raise money. TCU is like one of the richest universities in America. I mean, it's super rich kids. Everybody that goes to TCU is a rich kid. Well, 95%. Then there's 5% that are like, anyway, TCU has raised their prices, their admission, $60,000 a year to send your kid to TCU, $60,000 a year. That's not books. By the way, that's not residence, not dorms. What, you want them to live there too? Yeah, no. The reason this is interesting is because it's being pointed out, TCU has raised their entry $60,000 a year. It's more than Harvard. Harvard, and here's the thing, with Harvard, you expect it to be expensive because there is brand awareness with Harvard. You go to Harvard, it's like, even, people who think people go to college are snobs, even that guy hears you went to Harvard and goes, okay, maybe we should listen to him. Yeah, he still hates the guy but he's smart at least. People know that Harvard, people don't know that about TCU. I could see paying for that at Harvard. Like, I'm going to pay this amount of money. It's a ridiculous amount of money, but at least I'm going to be able to walk around in a Harvard shirt and people will go, he went to Harvard. That ain't the same thing with TCU. You wear a TCU in, West Allis, Wisconsin, a TCU shirt, and people aren't going to be impressed. People are just going to be like, yeah, what does that stand for? What is TCU again? So it's absurd that they think they can charge this much, unless they're just trying to maintain their status, I should say, as a classist university for just rich kids, because that's what TCU is. SMU is the same way, but TCU is really, really for rich kids. Screw you, TCU. Tesla is trending today. Tesla is having some trouble in court in Florida. This is a creepy ass story, man. I don't know if you guys know about this. So in the early models of the autopilot function on Tesla Model S. Wait, I want to make sure I get this right, because you don't want to besmirch the wrong model Tesla. Anyway, point is this. There was a glitch where the software wasn't recognizing certain kinds of semi-tractor trailers in the way that, and if the tractor trailer was like at an angle, or if the Tesla was, look, I read through this morning. It didn't recognize, so the autopilot didn't recognize that there was a truck there. So they had a number of these Teslas that were on autopilot with people driving them going, isn't this great being on autopilot? That drove under semis right through it because the autopilot didn't recognize that there was a truck there. What do I tell you about being an early adopter? I always tell you, don't do it. You're going to drive under a semi. They are working the bugs out, and they have an accountant somewhere who has determined, okay, if we release it early, there's probably going to be this many deaths because, things are probably going to go wrong with the first round. But if we release it early, we're going to make so much money. Oh my God. All right. Now, I told you about the deaths. We're going to have to settle out of court with all of these people. So I'm thinking this is the number that we're going to have to settle with the dead people. But that number is dwarfed by what we're going to make by rushing it to the market early for Christmas of 2017. So that's what happened here. They were like, we need to get this car out there because people are. They knew that people were probably going to die, and that's what a judge is figuring out. Judge finds evidence that Tesla and Musk knew about autopilot defect and released the car anyway. A Florida judge found reasonable evidence that Tesla chief executive Elon Musk and other managers knew the automaker's vehicles had a defective autopilot system, but still allowed the cars to be driven and sold unsafely. Judge Reed Scott in the Circuit Court of Palm Beach County, Florida, ruled last week that the plaintiff in a lawsuit over a fatal crash could proceed to trial and bring punitive damages against Tesla for intentional misconduct and gross negligence. It's all about bean counting. If we kill people, how many are we probably going to kill? And how much are we going to have to pay each one of those families? Total that number up. Okay, that number is X. All right, so we're from release. If we release, we're behind the 8 ball to that tune because we're expecting this not to go as well. But how much are we going to? Oh, we're going to make 5 times that number? Well, then let's just release it. And if people don't think that that's how these things go, you're nuts. They can afford this. They can afford this. They can afford this case. And it was worth it because everybody talked about the cool-ass Tesla self-driving cars back in they drive themselves. What a reason to get them. It's so cool, the autopilot. Sam Altman is in the news. He's been in the news for a couple of days, and I've been avoiding this story, except that it just spun off the rails last night again. Sam Altman is a young founder. He's one of these tech guys, and he is a leader in the world of AI development. We hear all about this, AI is coming. So, here, I lost the story. Let me pull the story up. Boop, boop, sorry. So, okay. So OpenAI was his company that he was running. And they developed chat, is it GTP, TGP, whatever, the chat thing that we're all seeing where people, hey, look at this guy talks, hey, this chat thing wrote a novel, that he developed that software. So there's a lot of venture capital money coming into this. OpenAI is a big company, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's excited about what's it going to be. Is it the next Apple? That whole thing. So over the past couple of days, there's been sort of an upheaval in the boardroom there at OpenAI, and this guy Sam Altman, who is like the founder, has been forced out. No longer CEO of the company. He has been forced out of his board seats, and the board was reshuffling. Now that was on Friday. Now on Sunday evening, Microsoft, Bill Gates himself called Sam Altman and said, "Okay. So now that's good. Let him do that. Come to Microsoft. You're going to be in charge of our AI program, and we're going to, do this before them." So he accepts the job at Microsoft on Sunday night. That hits the papers on Monday. OpenAI CEO immediately poached by Gates and Microsoft. So he's over there. That caused the board of directors at OpenAI to go, oh, wait a second. Now Microsoft is like really going to dedicate their resources to this. Maybe this was a bad idea. So they then fired a bunch of the people on the board who voted to fire Sam Altman, filled it with Sam Altman loyalists, and then picked up the phone and called Sam Altman and said, do you really want to take that job at Microsoft? Because you can come back. And ladies and gentlemen, he is back. He is now back after being fired 3 days ago. I don't know what any of this means, but I can tell you I cannot wait for the Hulu miniseries. The Hulu miniseries about the chain of events over the last 4 days. I told you I've been really into these. Like miniseries is about these founders, right? I watched the Spotify one, or actually I'm watching the Spotify one. I'm trying to watch the Spotify one. I'll get back to it. I watched the Uber. That one's called Super Pumped. That's really good about the mayhem that surrounded the founding of Uber. And then WeWork, right? We Crashed was the one that I watched. It's called We Crashed. That was really interesting. So I can't wait for this one to be a movie. This is going to be a movie. This OpenAI thing is going to be a movie. All right. Let's go here. Let's show you this. I hate this. Look at this son of a bitch. I want to kick this dude. You want to see what an asshole is? What an elitist asshole is? I'll show you. Hold on. I'm sorry. There we go. All right. Hold up. Yeah. Okay. So we'll start it with this one. We're gonna watch these. People are just such bullshit, man. All right. All right. So I want to talk about this next story here. So there's it's going viral. There's this guy. He's one of these. I don't know, he's more, I guess, Upper West Side than he is Upper East Side, but he's one of these Upper West Side, like Park West, wealthy, influential, elitist New Yorkers, right? He's this, and he's been consistently over the course of the last week harassing this halal dealer. This is a Jewish man. This guy's name is Stuart Seldowitz. Okay. He basically just walks by this falafel dealer, this falafel vendor every day, starts talking shit to this guy. Starts saying awful, racist, ugly, dark. Remember about humans are basically just awful pieces of shit when not restrained? That's where this guy goes. Does it for a week. I'm going to show you a number of videos. This guy is a former Obama diplomat. This guy, up until about 6 o'clock last night, this guy was one of the top guys at a very important foreign policy consultancy firm in Manhattan. I mean, we're talking about a guy who makes millions and millions and millions of dollars a year in just a salary, and then probably has stock holdings and sits on the boards of a number of companies. He's a Jewish man. So he's taking this Israeli thing but this, you would think that the man that is educated, a man that who worked in the diplomatic corps, and by the way, yes, he was, the reason that we attach him to Obama is because he was appointed acting director of the National Security Agency for Asian Affairs. So it was a lower, like mid, he's a lifetime bureaucrat in the diplomatic corps. And it was just under Obama that he rose to the highest position. He worked for 7 different presidents. So, these people these people with specific skills, like especially in the diplomatic corps, they don't just leave when a new president comes in, because these people are kept around because they have relationships. So this guy's been there forever, but he has, he's a New York elitist, former Obama administration official, although not high ranking. I don't want to, because, I'm seeing people going, he was the director of the NSA. No, he wasn't. He was the acting director of the National Security Agency for South Asian Affairs or something like that. It's not the same thing as being the director of the NSA. That you got to go in front of the Senate to get confirmed. We never saw this guy in front of the Senate, and they might have found out some things about him, but he's a real piece of shit. So let's watch this guy. This guy who has probably been in front of people on stage in a suit acting all. Let's watch this asshole. Here he goes. This guy's a monster.
To my friends in immigration.
Really? Okay, go, yeah.
And to the Egyptian, the Mukhabarat wants your picture.
Okay, yeah, go.
Yeah? You know the Mukhabarat?
The
Mukhabarat.
No, I don't know.
You don't know?
I just speak English.
No?
Yeah, go, yeah.
Mukhabarat in Egypt will get your parents.
Go.
Does your father like his fingernails? They'll take them out one by one.
يلا روح من هنا يلا go.
Why should I go? Why should I go? Tell me why I should go. I'm standing here. I'm an American. I have free. It's a free country. It's not like Egypt.
Remember when listening to this man talk, remember that his expertise is in diplomacy, which is what makes it. This is a guy who had an office in Washington, who, when shit got squirrely in certain parts of the world, we would send him to go talk to those people. And this is who he really is.
Yeah, smile for me.
Mm-hmm.
Smug asshole.
Did you rape your daughter like Muhammad did? Did you rape your daughter like Muhammad?
I speak English.
You only speak English?
No English, no.
You don't speak English.
This man is walking down the street. He is stopping. He wasn't in line. He didn't like, dude didn't screw up his order. There is no reason for these people to be having an interaction other than this son of a bitch. Somebody needs to walk up behind him and hit him with a bat and go, you know what? Yeah, no.
That just shows how ignorant you are. Because Muhammad was a rapist. It says in the Hadith, in your holy book.
Oh Muhammad.
What?
Oh Muhammad.
Muhammad, you're
even if you hold these beliefs, the rules of civilized society say that you don't say them to strangers on the street unless you're a fucking crazy person. That used to be the domain of crazy people. They'd stand on the street and say, Muhammad's a rapist and blah, blah. And it doesn't matter if you think that, you might believe all of this stuff too. But see, civilized society makes people act normal. And you wouldn't say that. This guy isn't. He's like, I'm going to call my friends in immigration. Dad gonna get that. That's the first thing he says to him. I'm gonna let my friends know. And then the Egyptian secret police are gonna get you and they're gonna pull your fingernails out. That's what this son of a bitch is doing. This former big wig diplomat in Washington, D.C. I'll find out exactly what his title was, what his highest title was before he was let go. Let's see here. Former National Security Council. That's not the title. Hold on. Lifelong diplomat. Stuart Seldowitz, 64, admitted it's probably me in the videos that have been shared on social media as he offered a half-hearted apology. So they've confronted him on it now because people know who he is. Like, reporters know who this guy is. And they're like, hey, that's Stuart Seldowitz. Stuart Seldowitz, 64, admitted it's probably me in the viral video shared to social media as he offered a half-hearted apology. He says, if I had to do it all over again, I would not have raised the religious aspect. I don't think I'm an Islamophobic guy, he added. I've spoken up for equal treatment of Muslims on numerous occasions with numerous different people. Seldowitz added that he regrets the whole thing happened and I'm very sorry. No, you're very sorry that you got caught. That's what you're very sorry. You don't look sorry here.
Prophet, you know who he is.
My prophet?
Yeah. He was a rapist. He raped Aisha. Does it say that in the Hadith or not? You know that?
That fucking smile. That evil smile. His condescending tone. He says this about it. It was the heat of the moment. I said things that probably I should not have said. The former White House official is accused of harassing a street vendor on the corner of East 83rd and 2nd Avenue. Seldowitz is wearing different clothing in different clips, which appear to be filmed over the course of multiple days. Let's see. Okay, so Seldowitz, who worked as a deputy director / senior political officer in the State Department's Office of Israeli and Palestinian Affairs in the early 2000s. So he's an expert on Israeli. Maybe this is why, maybe the Palestinians have a point. They're like, look, you bring these guys to negotiate and they're kind of like this, we can't make a deal with. Maybe they got a point. This guy should not be anywhere near a negotiation. He obviously has real problems with the Arab people. Threatens to send a photo. At one point, he threatens to send a photo of the vendor to his friends in immigration. He then asked, did you rape your daughter like Muhammad? The street vendor tells him that he doesn't speak English, seemingly to get him to leave, but instead the ex-political aide berates the man, telling him he's ignorant, and that's why he works in the
I don't
food
speak
cart.
English.
What?
No English.
You don't speak English? What do you speak? What do you speak? You speak Arabic? The language of the Quran? The Holy Quran?
All right, screw this guy. All right, so that's one. Yeah. Come on, we got more. Boop. Here you go. And he's back for more on a different day.
Go. Why stay here? Go.
He's
There's
crazy.
nobody here. I'm going to put big signs here that say this guy believes in Hamas.
You wanna buy something?
No, I don't.
Okay, why stay here?
I won't give you a penny of my money.
Listen. Why stay here?
What?
You wanna buy something?
No,
Okay, go.
I don't want to go. I have a right to stand
This-
here. You have no right to be on the sidewalk.
All right,
You have a permit?
Yeah, I have a permit. I have everything. I have a license.
Okay, but you don't have a visa.
I have a.
Look at that smile. That's the smile. That's what the last thing you see when they close the trunk lid, right? You're just looking up and you see that smile. Everything's gonna be okay.
Passport, my friend. Go.
man.
What do you have?
It's not your business. Go.
Oh, it is my business because I actually know the guy who owns all these.
I have American citizen.
Oh, he's an important guy. He's an important guy. He knows the guy who owns all this stuff. All right, let's see. Oh, here's another one. Got another one.
Muhammad was a child molester.
Go.
It says in the Hadith. You read the Hadith?
Go.
Do you read the Hadith?
I'm gonna call the police. Go.
How old was Aisha when
All right, so that's all we need. You understand what's going on with that guy? He's basically been showing up and somebody's been filming him and he doesn't know it. And now, I don't know. He seems like an asshole, man. I mean, just what in the best of times, you're at a cocktail party and somebody introduces you to him. That guy's an asshole. Like, my judgment on him is like, oh, this fucking guy. I hate this guy. I mean, just right. That smile, the way he carries himself with that condescension, the cockiness. It's confidence, yeah, but it's ugly confidence. It's like a cockiness with narcissism, with, I don't know. He sucks. I hate that guy. Yeah, and Byron is absolutely right. Byron says in a few days, we will see that real Americans have stopped by and tipped this guy car money. You're damn right. Damn right. Personally, I'd like it if he was visited by a house painter, but can't have everything that we want. Susan Sarandon. Well, speaking of things that we want, yesterday, I said yesterday openly when we were talking about this dumbass Susan Sarandon story where she's such a weirdo. Ugh. Susan Sarandon's such a weirdo. Susan Sarandon got up and she said, I don't know, whatever, go look it up. She said stuff that made Jewish people mad. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I don't want to look it up, but you can if you don't know. She said some stuff, bad stuff, could have been considered anti-Semitic because, well, it was anti-Semitic. And now she's been dropped by everybody. So her big UTA, the big talent agency, like the biggest one in Hollywood, which I don't know why you're still hanging on to Susan Sarandon. When was the last time she made a movie anybody went and saw? But yeah, she's been dropped. She has no representation, no nothing. All of the big Hollywood people, managements, publicists, and her agency representing her have all dropped her. And there you go. You have it. Because she's nuts. They should have done it years ago. She's been nuts for years. She just runs her mouth and takes the worst possible position on almost any issue that's out there. The most thoughtless position she always seems to take. The most, like, you know, this is what I always say about people like her. She lives in a world. She lives in an idyllic world because she has the kind of money and influence to be able to fabricate an idyllic world for herself. Her personal universe, inside Susan Sarandon's personal universe, all the bills are covered. There's no money problems. It's a very nice house. She has interesting friends, but make no mistake, all of her friends are her friends because she's Susan Sarandon, and people are like, it's cool to be friends with Susan Sarandon. So that's the personal universe that she has created for herself. And within that personal universe, she has been emboldened over the years to just take the most absurd points of view on any number of pop culture issues. You can do it. You can search it. She's always getting arrested for stuff. Some of it, I guess, I mean, is politically motivated. She's very lefty, though. And she doesn't really, and she seems to have a very reductive view of liberal politics, which... Moving on. Hey, the chick who stars in Scream, the one that's not Jenna Ortega. Yeah, the one nobody knows, the one that they could easily just cut loose. She's been kicked off the Scream movies. What's her name? Maria, something like that. Maria, I don't even know her name, and I shouldn't even worry about committing it to memory because she's not going to be in any more Scream movies, and I don't know if she's been in anything else. So apparently they rebooted the Scream movies like a couple of years ago, and Jenna Ortega and this chick, Maria, is the star of it. And I guess it's been popular enough that it's got a couple of sequels and stuff like that. So cool. But this Maria, she went on like Instagram or something. And all right, here's what happened. In a post to her page last month, she said she came from a colonized country, posting a Mexican flag and said, Palestine will be free. Okay, nothing wrong with that, right? If that's her post, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You can be on Team Palestine. That's fine. You can be on Team Palestine without going, siding with Nazis. It is possible. Trust me. A lot of room there. So she's on Team Palestine. And she said that she came from a colonized country and then put a picture of the Mexican flag up there. Well, she's right. Mexico was colonized. Just ask the Spanish. I mean, so why is anything there a problem? All right. Moving on. In another post written by herself, she wrote, just like all Palestinians are not Hamas, all Jewish people are not the Israeli government. Do not blame or hate on a whole group of people because of what some are doing. Well, I can see why the Scream franchise would want to punt her. I mean, people who go around saying insane things like that. I've yet to find what it is she said. So let's read on, shall we? The actress, who has also starred in blockbuster musical The Heights and Netflix's Keep Breathing, then went on to say, this is usually where they get her. It's always she then went on to say, this is where they get her. All right, let's see. She then went on to say, Gaza is currently being treated like a concentration camp, cornering everyone together with nowhere to go, no electricity, no water. People have learned nothing from our histories. And just like our histories, people are still silently watching it happen. This is genocide and ethnic cleansing. All right, that's the problem. Okay, so I can see how, people on Team Israel would be like, she's accusing us of genocide. Like, okay, so that's a thing. And by the way, there are a lot of people on Team Israel making casting decisions in Hollywood. We've seen it. This is done. What are you anti-Semitic? Pointing out that there's a lot of Jewish executive producers is not anti-Semitic. It means that I read the credits. It means that I read the credits of films. That is neither a bad thing or a good thing. It is simply a statement of fact and an observation that I have seen. There will never be a film. You can't name one film. You cannot find me one film that does not have at least one Jewish person involved in the production. What does that mean? Is that a bad thing? Why are you saying, that's all Jews can do? That's not what I'm saying. Holy shit, some of my best friends are Jewish dudes. But it is true that at some point during America's not so distant past, there was a great migration of East Coast creatives, many of whom were Jewish, to Hollywood because it was a burgeoning thing. So, it's been a tradition. It's not anti-Semitic. It's just not. Anti-Semitic is Jews are inferior and they're a reason for the white replacement theory. That's anti-Semitic. We need to just, I don't know what this girl did that was so bad. I really don't. Anyway, her career is probably over. That's a shame. I'd never heard of her anyway, but they're talking like she's somebody, like a star who was on the rise. And I don't even know her name. And I refuse to click on it and get her real name because I think it's Maria. But again, I don't think she's ever going to work again. A Russian actress who's being apparently it was a famous Russian actress. I mean, I don't see many Russian movies because I don't speak Russian. So it's kind of, I don't read it either. So I don't know. But a Russian actress, who, I'll show it to you. She was performing for the troops. We do that thing like, we send Bob Hope, send Marilyn Monroe, whatever. They're going down there to Vietnam. They're going to perform for the troops and everybody's going to enjoy it because these troops are out there working so hard. And, this is a nice little break for them. And okay, so all that. So they do that in Russia too. And they said she was an actress. She was playing a concert in the Donetsk region, which is a heavily contested region there. It's Russian occupied at the moment, but there are rebel forces and there's fighting. So here she is. I don't know who she is, but she's supposedly a big famous Russian actress. And here she is performing for the troops. Oh, hold on. Oh my God, she's squealing like a bunchy. There we go. Sorry, gotta share it. All right, here she goes. Watch that time. And that's how she died. That was a missile that fell on the little hall there where a bunch of Russian troops were enjoying a little relaxation time. And she was a famous Russian actress who had made the trip down there to entertain the troops. And she's right in the middle of a song. And that's how quick it is. That's how, when I tell you, I keep telling you, making all these great plans. You're putting off this, you're putting that off. No, don't put anything off. Do it now. Live now, love now. Because that chick probably thought that she was just going to be there for like a day and then she was going to go back to her kick-ass Moscow penthouse in her cool-ass Russian oligarch celebrity life. And no, she was right in mid-strum and her whole world ended. So there you have it. All right, we're going to end it with this. This is the last thing that I've got for today, and it's fun. We'll have some fun with this one. You know how I love the studies, and I certainly love a study that backs up some harebrained idea, some notion that I've been pushing for years. Well, there is now a study that backs up everything that I've been saying. When it comes to us uglies versus the hots, there's hots and then there's uglies, and that life is completely different for people who are hots. And don't even. Here's the saddest thing about the hots and the Uggs, which I am absolutely a member in good standing of the Uggs, have been my whole life. Here's the thing about the hots and the Uggs. Like, people will be like, well, no, there's kind of like a middle ground. Oh, no, it's not. That's too bad. That's too bad. See, because anyone who argues for a middle ground, anyone who says, no, there's more than just two kinds of people, hot people and ugly people, they don't realize that they're ugly. So they're advocating. They're like, well, I know I don't have chiseled good looks. You're ugly. Now, this is not to say that occasionally an ugly person can't be rescued and brought over to the hots. People get weird. And all of a sudden, you get like a Joaquin Phoenix, right? Joaquin Phoenix is he's an Ugg. Joaquin Phoenix is an Ugg. But somehow some women think he's hot. Pete Davidson is another good example. Pete Davidson is an Ugg. He's skinny. He's emaciated. His eyes are sunken. He's got giant bags. He's an Ugg. And yet, he's somehow made it over to the hots. So I've been, two things that I know that if you listen to this show every day, are absolute true. They haven't been confirmed by anybody other than me, but there's a Hollywood clone factory, and that attractive people they have better lives. There's a whole nother life going on for attractive people that we Uggs do not get to see. And there is a study here that sort of bears out something that I've said. And by the way, here's the thing. I got news for you, Uggs, fellow Uggs. We Uggs love to tell ourselves, like, in order to feel good about it, because we know we're not part of the good-looking people. So the Uggs will be like, yeah, but the world couldn't run without us. Because we do all that. No, we don't. No. And that's what the study is about. The study is about how the most attractive people get the best jobs, do the best work, and because it has to do with confidence and stuff like that. But here's another aspect of this study that I found most interesting. It found that, and we're only talking about attractive people, attractive men, or attractive men and attractive women. Okay, so just eliminate all the Uggs, just the hots, and let's just grab 5 men from that camp and 5 women from that camp. So we've got 5 hots women, 5 hots men. Now, who would you believe benefits more from being hot in the workplace? The woman or the man? The woman, of course, because that's would be completely wrong. It is what we believe. Oh, she's just sleeping her way to the top. All of that kind of stuff. So here's what they did. They did this really cool study. It took 25 years. How many years was it? What they did was they started with 15-year-olds. They went and they found a bunch of hot 15-year-olds. Now imagine trying to get this study funded. Because it was like some 50-year-old college professor going, yeah, I just want to go hang out and, stare at teen girls and teen boys. I'm going to try and find hot ones. We need to find. So that's what they did. So weird. They went and they got this case study of hot 15-year-old girls and hot 15-year-old boys. They probably didn't use hot. They probably used attractive or whatever. But they went out and got people who, and by the way, in order to choose these people, they had a panel of like 20 random people who had to look at everybody and say, are they attractive, yes or no? And so these people were all like group checked by other people who were like, yeah, they are hot. I'd do them. So all these people were hot. And at 15, they started doing these regular check-ins with the study. And they did it for 25 years, I think. 25, 35, 40. No, 20 years. It was 20 years because they're 35 years old now. And so they've got 15 years of being able to track how hot people have gone through and from 15 and how they've gone into the world and the opportunities that they've had. Now, at the very same time, they were tracking ugly people. They were tracking ugly 15-year-olds. They went and got like loser 15-year-olds. Just the worst. It's like you look at that kid and you're like, ugh. So they got a bunch of those and they tracked them as well. And they found out that, among other things, that hot people outperformed the Uggs by like 10 to 1. Like hot people were wildly more successful than the Uggs. The Uggs had nothing, and the hot people were. But within that study, they found that within the hots, that it was actually hot men benefit far greater in life by being hot than hot women do. And one of the things that they said was, the perception is that women somehow benefit the most because they can just, men are dumb and they think with their dicks, but that's very limited. That is, yes, you can get all your bills paid and all that kind of stuff, but you will be subservient to the man who you've tricked. So that's sort of a short-sighted look at that. That's not real power for a woman. If a woman wants to quit, like if a hot woman wants to quit and give up on her dreams of being a, glass ceiling shatterer and billionaire in her own right or whatever. If a woman wants to give up on all of that, sure, she could probably marry a guy. So that's why it's a bit of a red herring as far as an argument here. But what they found with men was, what they found with women was that the really hot women, especially within the last 10 years, really hot women are being stagnated in the workplace. Because you get to the highest levels of a company and suddenly you've got this like really hot women and she's obviously hot and men are now afraid that, oh boys, let's just keep her away. So this whole Me Too thing and this whole, it's actually in the executive suites, the C-suites, if you will. It has actually been that has been a negative to women. Attractive women have seen difficulty in the last 10 years of this study advancing, but not men. Men advance quicker. Men, really handsome men in the workplace, like a straight out of college, 23, really good looking, looks great in the suit. That dude they're saying he's more likely to be noticed by a boss, an older boss, a man who's 50. Maybe he's feeling every bit of 50 and he wants to feel young again. And so, when he goes out running around and he's got to take an assistant with him, he's going to take the dude who's really good. He's going to take the dude who looks like he gets laid, because when they go out to lunch and they're flirting with the waitress, These are all things that were studied in here. That, like, attractive men in the workplace benefit more than attractive women, which goes against, I think, everything that we'd have assumed to be the case. But I can see it. I've seen. Well, here, I'll read you what it says. Researchers from the Academy of Sciences examined over data 11,000 Americans over 20 years from adolescence to adulthood, including ratings on their looks, information on their educational and career achievement, and their earnings as adults. They found that people who were rated as more attractive at age 15 were more likely to surpass their parents in earnings and achievement once they reached their early 30s. So if you were hot at 15, you're probably going to make more than your parents by the time you're 30. That's what this study found, that you will accelerate in your career simply by being attractive. Let's see here. Parents' achievement and reach their 30s. This effect was much stronger for men than it was for women, especially in the area of education. Experts have argued that from an evolutionary perspective, looking attractive can be a sign that someone is suitable, fit, and disease-free. So it's like, I guess, cavemen, like when cavemen, like big giant boils and tumors, that's ugly. But if you were fairly okay, they were like, okay, we could have a baby. We can procreate with that. And beyond that, people tend to rate conventionally attractive people as more intelligent, trustworthy, and talented in general. I don't know why that is. In the new stuff, I think it's also because you want to be around attractive people. If you had a choice to be around a whole bunch of really attractive people who were well-dressed and smelled good and showered, and then you had to hang out with a bunch of like grubs, you totally hang out with the attractive people because you think you are now reflected or somehow whatever it is that you're seeing in them that you approve of is now somehow reflected in you because you're standing with them. That's why you don't want to stand with a bunch of, people who look like me and Byron, unless you want to look really good, let's see here. And beyond that, people tend to rate conventionally attractive people as more intelligent, trustworthy, and talented. In the new study, researchers set out to explore the material effects of the supposed biases about attractive versus non-attractive. To do this, they pulled data from the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health, AdHealth for short. This is a long-term study following about 20,000 people from adolescence into adulthood. Some dropped out over time, so the new study includes data on just 11,500 people over the course of 20 years. Well, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. That's not like, well, we looked at 20 people for 3 months. No. It's good enough for me, man. 11,000 people, almost 12,000 people over 20 years. Yeah, I think that, those results will mean something. These figures include physical health data, demographic information, socioeconomic data, and oddly, ratings of physical hotness. All right, I added hotness. It says attractiveness. Study participants came in every few years to answer questions for AdHealth. At each visit, interviewers were asked to rate participants on their attractiveness. A 5-point scale ranging from very attractive to very unattractive was established. Interviewers did not receive specific instructions on the criteria they should use to rate participants, but since studies have shown that multiple observers tend to agree on ratings of a person's attractiveness, the AdHealth ratings probably give an accurate picture of how people view each other. This is a study. This is like the study. There were kids gaining college credit. There were kids who were doing research projects around this study. And the study just seems to be, I'm going to sit in my office and a bunch of hot people are going to parade through and I'm going to decide whether they're, the scale of 1 to 10. This is that TV show Hot or Not, which I don't know if you guys remember. That was the greatest TV show ever. The team behind the study looked at how interviewers had rated participants' looks when they came in for their first visit as teenagers and then compared them to how their lives had progressed about 20 years later. Physical attractiveness at 15 made a significant difference 20 years later. Even after researchers took into account other factors that are known to have effects on a person's socioeconomic status, things like childhood, blah, blah, blah. All right, so basically they had all these 15-year-olds, and then when they turned 35, they looked at all the data and they went, wow, the 15-year-olds who we said were hot are all really successful and doing great. The 15-year-olds we said were ugly, they're kind of disappointing, aren't they? They're kind of just, And I thought that was interesting. All right, I got nothing else. That's it. That's going to do it for today's show. Once again, I would like to thank our executive producer of this here day's show, the lovely Tracy. Coughing it up. I'm coughing it up. All right, so I don't know if we're doing a show tonight. I have no idea if we are going to do a show tonight. I don't know what James Parker is getting into. I'll be around. I'll be willing to do a show. I think I might want to do a show tonight. So that might be a thing. I actually got something I want to do. I don't know. We'll get into it. Hold on. Sorry, I'm distracted. So I found this thing. Remember a couple of weeks back when I was showing you, like, I found this site that does all these AI renderings of people. It's like, hey, here's what John Lennon would look like if he stayed alive, right? So now we were showing those. Here's what Elvis would look like if he was alive today. So they do all these AI renderings. So one of the things that I saw was, and I might do this as a standalone video, but AI took states, like, let's say randomly the state of Nebraska. AI took the state of Nebraska and took everything that it knows about the state of Nebraska, everything the internet knows about the state of Nebraska, everything programmed about the state of Nebraska, everything that this artificial intelligence knows about the state of Nebraska, and then created a girlfriend. And that's literally what this is. It's your AI created girlfriend that perfectly represents every state in America. And I was fascinated by this thing. So I thought that would be a fun thing to do. I thought maybe we could do that with James tonight if he's around. Or if James isn't around, I'll just show up and we'll be like, hey, all right, check out this chick. This is what they think Alaska chicks look like. Anyway, it's pretty fun. So I thought maybe we could do that, even if James doesn't show up. And if James does show up, we'll do that. I'll say this. Super disappointed with Texas. Super disappointed with what AI thought the perfect quintessential Texas girlfriend looks like. No. I've lived here long and no. But let me tell you something. Jeff Ballard there in Iowa, he got a good one. The AI-generated Iowa girl is like, yep, corn-fed, but also looks like she smells just like wildflowers. All right, I got nothing else. I got to go. Got to run around. Big stuff to do today. Love you guys. See you back here tonight at 9 o'clock for Radio Misfits. Maybe with James Parker, maybe not with James Parker, but it'll definitely be with me. Love you guys. Bye. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. That is understood. It has been a journey, a multi-answer test. I am on a never-ending quest.